It seems like everywhere you look these days, people are talking about AI.
Yeah, it's really taken off.
And, it's not just hype. We've been seeing some really interesting applications popping up, especially when it comes to how we create and consume content.
For sure. I mean, think about all the stuff that goes into making just a simple blog post, let alone, something more complex like a video or a podcast. AI has the potential to really change the game there.
Absolutely. And that's exactly what we're diving into today.
We're going deep on Google AI Studio.
A platform that's leveraging, the might of Google's AI, including this new Gemini model we've been hearing so much about.
Right. And the thing is, it's not just for the big tech companies anymore. Google is putting these tools directly into the hands of everyday users.
Students, professionals, even just hobbyists who are curious about AI and what it can do.
Exactly.
So our mission today is to really break down Google AI Studio, figure out how it works, explore what it can do, and what it all means for the future of, content creation.
And we're not just talking theory here. We're looking at real-world examples, things people are actually doing with this platform right now.
So before we get ahead of ourselves, let's start with the basics. What exactly is Google AI Studio? When we say that, what are we talking about?
Okay, so in a nutshell, it's a platform developed by Google.
Okay.
And it gives you access to some of their most advanced AI models.
Like Gemini.
Yeah, Gemini is one of the big ones they're pushing with this. And the idea is that, you don't need to be a coding whiz or have a team of engineers to tap into this AI tower. Google has kind of packaged it up in a way that makes it much more user-friendly.
So it's not just for those big corporations with dedicated AI departments.
Exactly. They're trying to democratize access to AI, make it available to, pretty much anyone who's interested.
Which is a pretty big deal when you think about it. So who are they targeting with this? Who are they hoping will use Google AI Studio?
Well, they've talked about a few key groups. Students, for example, who are often, overwhelmed with tons of reading material.
Oh, yeah. Research papers, articles, textbooks, the list goes on.
Right. And professionals, of course, who need to process information quickly, make decisions, communicate effectively.
And let's not forget about content creators.
Mm-hmm.
The bloggers, the podcasters, the video makers.
Totally. They see a lot of potential there, too.
So we've got students, professionals, content creators. It sounds like they're casting a pretty wide net.
They are, and I think that's part of what makes this so interesting. They're really aiming to make AI a more, everyday tool.
Not just something that's happening in the background, but something people can actively use to, make their lives easier and maybe even unleash some creativity.
Exactly.
So when we talk about this idea of AI being used for content creation, what kinds of things are we actually talking about? Is it just, helping people write better emails or something?
No, it goes way beyond that. I mean, sure, it can assist with writing, but it can also help with things like analyzing data, summarizing long pieces of information.
And even generating audio content.
Yeah, that's one of the things that really stood out to me when we were looking at the research.
Me too.
Yeah.
So how does that work? How does Google AI Studio actually create audio content?
Okay, so there's this feature called Audio Overview.
Okay.
And basically what it does is you can upload a document, like an article, a research paper, even just your own notes. And the AI will process that text and transform it into a podcast-style discussion.
Wait, so it's not just reading the text out loud, right? It's actually creating a conversation.
Right. It's like, imagine you're listening to two people discussing the topic of the document, but those two people are actually AI-generated hosts.
That's wild.
Yeah.
So how does it actually sound? Is it just, robotic voices reading facts?
No, and that's the impressive part. From what we've seen, it actually sounds pretty natural. The AI is able to identify the key themes and arguments in the text and then craft a discussion around them. They'll even add in things like, insights, analogies, little bits of banter back and forth to make it sound more like a real conversation.
So it's not just informative, it's actually engaging.
That's the goal. And the voices themselves are designed to sound, lifelike and engaging.
That's really impressive. Do we have any specific examples of this in action?
Yeah, there was a test case where someone uploaded an article on the history of AI.
Okay.
And the platform was able to generate a 10-minute podcast episode, like a full discussion, in about 4 minutes.
Wow, 4 minutes. That's incredible. I mean, anyone who's ever tried to create audio content knows how much time and effort goes into editing and mixing and all of that.
Totally. So this is potentially a huge time saver. And the quality of the audio, from what we've read, is actually quite good.
So it's fast, it's high quality. This is starting to sound like a real game changer.
It has the potential to be, especially for certain applications.
Okay, so let's talk about those applications.
Yeah.
How could people actually use Google AI Studio in their daily lives? Like, let's start with students. How could this be helpful for them?
All right, so imagine you're a student and you've got like a mountain of research papers to read for a class.
Been there.
Right. Instead of having to slog through all that text, you could upload those papers to Google AI Studio, and it could create audio summaries.
So it's like having Cliff's Notes, but in audio form.
Yeah, exactly. And you could listen to those summaries while you're, commuting, working out, doing other things. It could really free up time and make studying a little less overwhelming.
That's a great point. What about for professionals? How could they benefit from this?
Think about all the reports and presentations and things that professionals have to deal with. Instead of sending a long written document, they could use AI Studio to create an audio briefing.
So it's like a podcast version of a report.
Exactly. And people could listen to it during their commute, multitask while they're getting up to speed. It could be a much more efficient way to communicate complex information.
Makes sense.
Okay.
And what about content creators? How could something like Google AI Studio fit into their workflow?
Well, for one thing, it could really lower the barrier to entry for creating audio content. Like, imagine you have a blog with a bunch of great articles. You could use AI Studio to turn those articles into podcast episodes.
That's smart. Reach a whole new audience without having to invest in all the fancy equipment and editing software.
Right, and it could also help creators diversify their content, maybe offer both written and audio versions of the same material.
So it's about expanding reach, increasing engagement, and doing it all in a way that's relatively easy and accessible.
Exactly.
And speaking of accessible, one of the things that really struck me about Google AI Studio is the fact that it's currently free to use.
Yeah, that's a big deal. It means anyone with a Google account can experiment with these powerful AI tools without having to pay anything.
Which is pretty remarkable when you think about it.
Yeah.
Okay, so it sounds like there's a lot of potential here, but like with any technology, it's important to be realistic. What are some of the limitations of a Google AI Studio? What are the things we should be aware of?
Right. So first of all, it's still under development, so it's not perfect. One thing to watch out for is the potential for AI hallucinations.
Hallucinations. Like the AI is seeing things that aren't there.
Not exactly. It's more like sometimes the AI might generate information that's not entirely accurate or that's not consistent with the source material.
So it's not a replacement for good old-fashioned fact-checking.
No, especially if you're dealing with something really important, you always want to double-check the information.
Okay, good to know. What about other limitations?
Well, right now it mainly supports English.
Okay.
So if you're working with content in other languages, that could be a barrier. And the voice options are still pretty limited.
Yeah, I noticed that too, just a male and a female voice, right?
Right. But they are working on expanding those options in the future.
Good, because that would definitely be a welcome improvement. More voices, more languages, that kind of thing.
Exactly. More customization options.
So, limitations aside, what about the bigger picture? What are some of the potential future developments for Google AI Studio, or even just for AI-powered content creation in general?
Oh, there are so many possibilities. We could see things like video generation, where the AI creates not just audio, but also visuals.
Wow, that would be amazing.
And interactive AI experiences, where you could actually have a conversation with the AI, ask it questions, get real-time feedback.
So it's like having an AI tutor or a study buddy.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that could be really powerful, especially for learning and education.
It's really exciting to think about how all of this might change the way we create and share information.
It is.
So to sum up, Google AI Studio seems to be a pretty significant step forward in AI-powered content creation.
Absolutely. It's fast, it's powerful, and it's currently free, which is huge.
And for anyone listening who wants to learn more or even try it out for themselves, what's the best way to do that?
Just head over to Google's website and search for Google AI Studio. You should be able to find it pretty easily.
And as we mentioned, it's free to use, so there's no risk in giving it a try.
Exactly. Experiment with it. See what you can create.
Whether you're a student, a professional, or a content creator, there's something there for everyone.
Totally. It's a really exciting platform.
Well, it's definitely given us a lot to think about.
It has.
Looking ahead, the big question is, how will AI tools like this continue to shape the way we learn and share information in the future?
Yeah, that's the million-dollar question. It's definitely something to keep an eye on.
Absolutely. Well, thanks for joining us for this deep dive into Google AI Studio. We'll be back next week with another exciting topic.
See you then.